Hello, konnichiwa. Welcome back to Oxford Japanese lesson. This is Jerell again. Yokoso. Ne. 1 p.m. Sunday, we are always here in Oxford. At 1 p.m. we always do Japanese lesson. And then, of course, my name is Jerell. And then, welcome back, yeah? So, for Singaporeans, we have good news and bad news depending on how you see it. Apparently, tomorrow, September 28th, 9月28日月曜日 Monday, most of us, those office workers, are already able to return back to office if you do miss your office. So it all depends on you guys. So using this as a cue, I prepared today my lessons about office in Japan, you know, the office culture. And then because in my line of work, I do travel to Japan very often. And I have been doing that for the last 20 years. 20年ぐらいですね。And then I did not realize that it has been 20 years, but when I was also trying to make this presentation for you guys, I realized that, hey, I've done almost everything correct. So because Japan is still a country where there is a lot of rigid, what do you call that, formalities. And then you have a chance to have a Japanese business partner, or when you're in Japan, or maybe even in Singapore or anywhere else in the world, when you're going to have a meeting with a group of Japanese or a Japanese company, there are some rules that you have to follow. Yeah. So today, using this as the cue, as the theme for today's lesson, I will share with you some of the vocabulary that you can find when you go to a Japanese meeting. And then followed by, I shall share some business etiquette, 10 basic important business etiquette, because we need to know what we're supposed to do, right? Especially when we know that the country has a lot of formalities. So we don't want to be embarrassed or 下水, isn't it? Yeah? And then followed by a simple dialogue that everybody has to, what do you call that? Speak or say when you meet your Japanese friend or Japanese counterpart for the first time. Okay? So, shall we start? We shall start with, let's imagine that right now we are going to Tokyo and we are going for a Japanese business meeting. And then because when you take your flight out to Japan from Singapore, you must have motive or intention or purpose. Okay. Oh yeah. By the way, the first slide right now you see is legi, li. Okay. It means formalities. So when you go out on a business trip, you have a purpose. So a purpose in Japanese is called mokuteki. Mokuteki. Yeah, purpose. For those who have been following my Japanese class, again, I have put Japanese kanji, I have put hiragana for you guys, and then of course the romanji, so you can catch the pronunciation, okay? So the purpose is called mokuteki. You can read it from a Chinese character, it's muti, but it's not the mutiti, the muti, all right? Mokuteki. All right. And then, こんにちは、トミさん。おめでとうございますですね。昨日、結婚おめでとうございます。幸せにね。If you understand whatever I'm saying, I'm just wishing you best of luck and all the best in your marriage, okay? And then because we are back to the lesson, we are flying off from Singapore, and then the business trip in Japanese is called sujo. Sujo, business trip. The Japanese kanji is 出張, but it means business trip. 出張. Okay, next one. This is very important because in Japan, they bow almost every single time, right, that you can see. Most of the time, they bow with politeness. And then what is bow in Japanese is called ojigi. Ojigi. And then I can have another lesson on bowing also, because bowing at different degree means different of level of respect. Yeah. So bowing is very important. Okay, regardless. Okay, so bowing is called ojigi, ojigi, tsugi. Okay, and business card is very important when you go to a Japanese meeting, right? Or rather any other meeting. But right now, because I'm focusing in Japan, right? So everything will be related to Japan. And then business card, in which I also have here, yeah, it's called meshi, meshi, meshi. Yeah, the Chinese character is 名次. Right, but if you see this in a Japanese passage or a Japanese word, it's called meshi, is business card. So when presenting your business card, you always hold it with your both hands, the Japanese side forward. Okay, this is a card, yeah, Japanese card that I have. So forward, right, and then you present it to the most senior when you are in a meeting. Usually there's a group of people that comes in, usually they come in with different seniority. You have to figure out, or rather you should know who is the most senior, and you have to present it to the most senior person first. All right? And then when you accept the business card, you must always say thank you or hajimemashite. Yeah? Okay? And then you go and sit down in the meeting. I will show you the 10 most important basic etiquette, but basically, when you sit down and you start your meeting, when you have your meshi, your business card, I noticed some of, other countries, or rather Singaporean, let's put it, because we are Singaporeans sometimes when they are in meetings, like I work for a foreign country, I have meetings with the Spanish before, with Americans before, and you notice that Westerners, they tend to write, because the first time meeting, yeah, so they tend to write. Once they understood that, oh, you are Jerell, you're taking charge of a certain region, and they start writing down. You're taking charge of a certain business department, they start writing down on the business card. Don't do that, yeah. Don't do that with the Japanese business card, because if you write something on your business card, it means a little bit of disrespect. You are not treating the meeting with a lot of respect. So probably you have a habit to do it with your other counterparts. There are maybe, I don't know, from Australia or fellow Singaporeans, but if you are having a meeting with the Japanese, if you have a habit of writing down the title or the destination, everything, don't do it. Dame desu ne? Don't do it on the Japanese business card, because it shows a lot of disrespect. Yeah? And then the next vocabulary that I'd like to show you is meeting rooms, right? Because when we go to a meeting, there must be meeting rooms. So if you're in a Japanese setting, you want to know what is a meeting room, or you want to know how to pronounce meeting room, is called kaigi-shitsu. Kaigi-shitsu. 会议室. Kaigi-shitsu. Right? So we know meeting room is called kaigi-shitsu. Then kaigi is meeting. Kaigi is meeting, right? 会议, right? Then, of course, in a meeting, you have people of different seniority of the company, yeah? Unless you are at a very senior post, you get to see the C-level, the CEO, the COO, the CFO. Most of the time, meetings, where we go out for meetings, like for myself, I will get to meet Pucho, which is like AVP or VP level. So you don't usually get to see Sacho. Sacho is like the CEO, right? 社长, right? So you get to see senior people like maybe Pucho. Okay, here I put manager because there's not a particular English word to express, yeah, somehow. Like for myself, when I first started out my career in my business, and then I met a lot of Japanese because I take care of Japan, yeah. And then there was one time in a meeting, yeah, I was still greenhorn, so I don't know much. I was just following my boss, and I received business cards, right, exchange, and I was trying to learn the basic etiquettes. And then I noticed a business card that I have is called manager, yeah. The name was there, and the manager. And then I received another business card from another fella. It says regional manager. So in our basic understanding of titles, regional manager seems to be one up of manager, right? And then I'm taking this from a Japanese company. So I thought the regional manager is the boss of the manager. Yeah, but when I get to know after a while, I just realized that no. The guy that is really running the whole show for this particular company is the manager, and he's Bucho, right? 部长, Bucho. Okay, so we need to get this understanding correctly, right? Regional manager and manager, if you have a Japanese business card, does not mean the manager is 1 rank or 2 rank lower than the regional manager. Okay? Yeah, so there is a mistake that I made, so I'm kind of embarrassed myself. And then, of course, you also get to see kacho. Okay? Kacho, if I can use English term to represent, probably is like a section chief. 1 section, 2 section, 3 section chief. Right, so Bucho will be right, like department head. Yeah, maybe department head. Right, so you get to meet Bucho and Kacho. Right? And then, of course, hierarchy is very important in Japan, right? And which I've shared before in one of my lessons with my Korean counterpart when we do same but different. And we're going to do it again. Next week, I have Yong Sok, and then we're going to sit down. We're going to talk about Japanese and Korean culture and the same but different part about the language, yeah? How similar we are in terms of some of the language. But anyway, that will be next week. So in terms of hierarchy, there is this word called senpai. Senpai 就是前辈, senior. All right, so in the Japanese culture, they really follow the law and orders of this hierarchy. Right, so when the senpai speak, the junior, which is kohai, will be keeping quiet. They will just take notes and stuff like that. Right, so senpai. Okay. And then I have the slide here showing like what are the unpleasantness about from the senpai towards the kohai. Maybe I can do it again in the next chapter. What is the top 5 dislike and like, yeah, between the senpai and kohai nowadays, because now we're approaching the 21st century. Okay, so senpai, kohai, senior and junior. So there's a lot of hierarchy. And then because I am flying to Japan, all right, for a business trip, so I am a customer and they are also my customer. So how do you pronounce or know customer in terms of Japanese term? It's called kokyaku, 顾客, kokyaku, right? Kokyaku is client, customer, okay? But when in Japan, when you use customer, usually it's more like you're going to an eatery, you're going to a shop. Yeah, between companies, you don't use customer, you use client. And client in Japanese is called kokyaku, right? Customers that go into shop and restaurant is called okyasan. So there's a difference, all right? So in a business setting, it will be kokyaku, right? And then just a little tip, yeah, when you're dealing with the Japanese culture and Japanese setting, there is this so-called fundamental kind of, not rule, but something that they do follow very closely among the Japanese when they go for meetings. I'm sharing with you another, what do you call that? Do you know what is horenso? Horenso in Japanese is actually a vegetable. All right, if you know Popeye the Sailor Man, yeah, horenso is spinach, right? And I'm going to share with you right now one of the so-called formula in the Japanese culture is called horenso, right? Ho represents hokoku, ren means renraku, so means sotan. Right? So let me go back. So that's why they say horenso. Hokoku, renraku, sotan. Hokoku means to report. Right? Because in Japan, risk aversion is held in high esteem, right? So the Japanese people are very risk averse. We know they are very, very careful. So constantly, after the meeting, they will do a lot of reports on the status of the ongoing assignment or the task or the meeting. All right, they must make sure that they report to the, like I say just now, I share with you the senpai kohai, they go according to the hierarchy. So everybody must be informed. So when I visit a company in Japan, after the meeting, they have a lot of reporting to do. Okay, so they will have to make sure that all these meeting minutes will be reported upwards all the way to probably to the Pucho area, so that everybody understand what has happened, the meeting with Jerell. So the Japanese always follow this holenso. Holenso itself again is spinach, but this holenso method, or rather a formula, okay, in their day-to-day corporate work. Yeah. So hokoku is to report, right? So the importance of report, of course, is follow the hierarchy, and then also to make sure that the project they want to work on shall be on time. That's why in Japanese, we always have this image also that they are very time conscious and they're very on time, right? So far so good. So horenso, second fundamental, len means nenraku, make contact, okay? This is a second fundamental business practice, sharing and updating information to everybody, okay? Because Japanese believe in teamwork very much. In a Japanese organization, most of the time, a project cannot be done by one person alone. And society is a very collective society, right? So they always have to do a lot of renraku. Because if you want to get a project done, probably you need to get the finance department involved, you need to get the human resource department involved, the engineers involved, things like this. So after they do the hokoku, they will do the renraku to make contact. Yeah? Yeah, time is very important, Cindy, yeah, for the Japanese. They are very, very particular, right? So, hokoku, renraku, the last one, the third fundamental in the Japanese meeting setting is sotang, yeah, sotang, xiangtang. That means a lot of consulting. To consult in Japanese is sotang. So consulting actively with supervisor or colleague is a problem-solving method frequently used in the Japanese corporate world. Okay, so it allows the company to do what we call brainstorm. They love to do a lot of sotang to get the solution or to come up with a strategy. Yeah. So this is the three basic fundamentals of a Japanese organization, which is also very common in most corporate worlds. I'm just saying that there is this thing called holenso in the Japanese corporate world where they follow these three fundamentals. Let me go back and share with you one more time. It's called hokoku, to report. Yeah. And then renraku, to make contact with the different departments. And then, of course, sotang, consulting, come up with solution, come up with strategy, right? So one more thing is that the Japanese are slow to suggest solution as the proposed solution because they are always very afraid that they need disagreement with colleague, okay, in order to prevent a lot of misunderstanding. So that's the reason why there's also this, if you notice, you have been traveling to Japan enough, or you have enough Japanese friends, or you have meetings with Japanese corporate client before, sometimes, or most of the time, when they are not able to give you a definite answer because we do not understand their culture, they will do like, so that's ne, ma. These are the few so-called 口头禅 that they use. They are not rejecting you, but they are not accepting you yet because they have a lot of work to be done back home, right? So you will keep hearing, so that's ne, ma, wakarimashita toka, ne. So these are some of the expressions that they use. Okay. So far, so good, right? So now I'll come to, like I say, I share with you some vocabulary about the Japanese business meeting culture. And then now I'll come back to you with 10 Japanese business etiquette rules. Yeah, because there are still some rules that we have to be familiar with, right? When you go to a Japanese meeting. The first one is wait before sitting down. So when you're in a meeting, you go into the meeting room. For the uninitiated, or when you travel from one place to another place, you go into the train and then you feel tired, you see a chair, immediately you want to grab your chair and sit down. Never do that, yeah? 絶対ダメですよ. Okay, you have to stand by. In fact, when you enter the room, when there's a table and then there are chairs, then you go in with your boss, yeah, and then the other party, the Japanese party also is inside. We just stand there and wait. Wait before sitting down, because they probably most of the time will tell you how you would like to sit. Okay, or unless they say, oh, you can sit anywhere, then we start sitting down. Yeah? So wait before sitting down. Okay? Don't rush and then grab a chair and then start sitting down and take out your PC and show your eagerness to make a business deal. Right? It's rude. And then, of course, this is a little bit complicated. My 20 years of traveling to Japan, yeah, I see the trend that it is not as common anymore, because, or maybe because I've been in the same industry for quite some time, and then I've been going back to the same customers. They are my friends right now. But I recall the days when I first started, they are very particular, okay, on sitting arrangement. Sitting arrangement. So usually, the person that is leading the meeting will be in the middle, let's say, and then the second most important person will be on the right side, and the third will be on the third most important person will be on the left side, and then we go like this, yeah. Let's say I'm the most important, then most important, second important, third important, fourth important, etc., etc. All right. So, and then there's another thing that I'd like to share with you, is that as a guest to the Japanese premises, or rather I noticed, and then it's true, that when I enter the meeting room, I shall go to the further end of the table, because the closer end of the table that is nearer to the entrance is so-called reserved for the host. It's reserved for the host. Right there, I will always go to the other side of the table and I will stand, wait before they tell me to sit. And then when I sit, because I have been to the country enough, I have also to manage my boss. Okay, so let's say I go with two other big bosses, that I tell them to sit correctly, so that everybody has their proper sitting. Okay, all right. So there is a sitting arrangement by rank. Just remember, you cannot anyhow sit. Like in the MRT, go up anyhow sit. Okay? Hello? Yeah. Take off your coat before entering a building. Yeah. So I also bought myself a coat. So when I enter the building, I'll take off the coat this way. Yeah. And then leave it by the hand and then just walk in. Do not enter the building with your coat on. It's rude in Japanese custom. All right. So always, if you have a suit, the same thing, coat, always take it out before you enter the building. Okay? All right? So take off your coat before entering a building is another important business etiquette in the Japanese culture. So you can notice it actually when you go to big corporates, yeah, when you go to, again, in my telecom industry, you go to those big telephone companies, there are many people walking in and out of the lobby, right? But you always almost notice when they enter, especially during winter time, when they have the coat and they have their, winter clothing and overall, when they enter the trench coat, they will always take out the trench coat and put on their arms, okay, with all their bags, and they start to queue up and line up and then go into the office buildings. Yeah, it's very common. Okay, it's quite amazing to see that sight actually. Okay, and then another rule is, of course, here you guys are in this session, you are interested to learn a little bit Japanese. So it's also good to learn some formal greetings for business correspondence, in which I'll share with you a very simple dialogue later. All right, learn something. You can kind of impress them a little bit, yeah, but it works. That's good. It's good that you can learn some formal greetings like Ohayo gozaimasu, konnichiwa, arigatou gozaimasu, all these that you guys already have known. Yeah, that I've shared with you earlier. Yeah, things like this. Okenki desu ka, things like this. Yeah. And then this is tricky. It may seem to you, but get on the elevator in the proper order. You don't see this in Singapore. I have also been working in Singapore for quite some time. In fact, for the last 20 years, Singapore also have many big buildings, skyscrapers, and then all these office workers going in and out. But you can see that the Singapore office workers is not orderly. All right. So just now I mentioned that when you go to Japan, you go for a meeting, especially meetings are all in the morning. And just for information, Tokyo itself, yeah, between 7 a.m. to 9 a.m., okay, there will be about 3 million non-Tokyo residents rushing into the city. So these are the people that work in Tokyo, but they are outside Tokyo, like Yokohama, like Kanagawa, like Shiba, like Saitama. Just 2 hours, 3 million people, which is like half of the population of Singapore, rush into Japan, Tokyo to work. Yeah. So during this period, all the buildings you can hear, especially the ladies, the OL, yeah, the clack, 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 with the high heels, they come in walking in, and then the men with their proper attire walking in. So it's always clock. But this particular moment, you go to the building, you will see something to me is quite fascinating. It's like clockwork. It's like how the ants in the ant nest, they have an order. Everybody will start queuing up. It's like military, but it's automatically when you go into the building, everybody will start queuing up and just going, badges by badges, but without anybody telling them what to do. And it's very orderly. All right, so get on the elevator in the proper order. So when you are in Japan again, yeah, I keep saying Japan, 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 because this is a Japanese lesson, and I'm talking about Japanese culture. When you go into the meeting for the first time, don't try and rush because everything will be in order. You just have to queue up, and it's very natural. You'll be surprised, right? Especially when we, as a guest, we even have a visitor lane for visitors, right? And then we can queue up, and then we go into the elevator. Okay? Yeah? And then just for those, just a tip, not tip, but information. Let's say there's a group of the same team going in the lift, right? And then there's a ranking 1, 2, 3. It's very natural, the youngest one will start to press the lift, the floor that they are supposed to go. So let's say I go in with 2 other people and I'm the most junior, and I know that we are going to 11th floor, I will be the one automatically to press the 11th floor. Yeah? Okay. Now, you saw the slides, okay? I should have asked you just now. In Western saying, we always hear, knock, knock, who's there? Knock, knock, who's there? So the knock is twice, okay? But to go into a Japanese meeting with a door closed, how many times should you knock? Once, twice, or 3 times? Yeah? You want to make a guess? Yeah? Knock, knock, who's there is from America, I think. You know, there was a knock, knock, who's there? But in Japan, when you want to go into the meeting room, or you know that your guests are inside the meeting room, they're expecting you before you enter and the door is closed, you have to knock 3 times. Kang, kang, kang. Okay? Why do Japanese office workers knock 3 instead of 2? Okay, apparently the etiquette holds that 2 knocks, knock, knock, is for checking if a bathroom is occupied. Okay? So this is another Japanese culture. If you go to the restroom, the ladies or the gentlemen, gents, yeah, you want to check if somebody is inside that particular cubicle, you knock twice, knock, knock. But you go into the office, you go into the meeting room, you don't knock, knock. You knock, knock, knock. 3回、2回じゃなくて3回、knock, knock, knock. Okay? Now you learn something. Every day we learn something. 2 times is salah, Tommy. Okay? 2 times is to check whether in the restroom the cubicle is empty or not. So you go to the restroom, you can knock 2 times. You go into the meeting room, you knock 3 times. Knock, knock, knock. 大丈夫? Okay? Okay, leave. So after that, you exchange business card, you sit down like my slide you have there, right? So we always leave our counterpart card on the desk. Right? I always leave it on the desk. Remember earlier I said remember not to scribble anything. I noticed that a lot of foreigners, Caucasians, they love to write on the people's business card. Do not do that, yeah? Especially with your Japanese counterpart, okay? So you just leave it by the side, and then you carry on your meeting proper, okay? All right? And then after the meeting is done, then you put it inside your card holder. Okay, you put it inside your card holder. All right, then you put inside whatever, yeah, then you go out. Okay. Otherwise, during the whole meeting session, you should always keep it open. Do not write on it. Do not write on it. Keep it open, and then when it's finished, done, you put it in your business card holder. So, I mean, this business card holder has been with me for the last 20 years. I have a couple, but this is my best so far. It's always good to invest in a good, good, presentable business card holder because it shows a lot of respect to your customer, or rather your clientele, all right? And then the next etiquette we should be, yeah, wait until they take a sip of tea before you do. And in Japan, like I say, things have changed. In the past, they almost always offer me green tea. But right now, just like Singapore, we have a lot of green tea bottle drinks, right? So they come in sizes. So in Japan, they even have a size of 100 milliliter of green tea. The what do you call that? Soken bicha or ayataka tea. So they give it to you, yeah. But otherwise, in the past, they will still give you green tea. And then if you're thirsty, okay, please hold on to your thirst. Don't quickly sip or take a gulp from the cup, right? You have to wait until they take a sip of tea before you do. So it's again common courtesy, right? It's common courtesy, all right? Next, many rules and etiquette, yeah? So the next one is place your card below theirs, okay? So when exchanging business card, place your own card below your counterpart. Again, the logic behind this rule isn't too hard to follow, because it just shows respect, okay? You just want to show that his card is more important than you, regardless, okay? So place your card below theirs, okay? When you do your business cards exchange. And then bow until the elevator doors close completely. I mean, this is quite common. It's just that, again, when we are not Japanese, we are not used to the bowing etiquette and custom, we kind of forget, right? So bow until the elevator door close completely. Actually, it's more for the Japanese because you are guests, you are a clientele, you visit them all the way from Singapore to Japan. And then after the meeting, they will see you off to the lift lobby. And then do some exchange of pleasantries, say, oh, we meet again, or let's have dinner later, or something like that, yeah? And then when the lift comes, you goes in, and then they will just stand there. They'll just stand there, and then the lift will, of course, close automatically, but they will start to bow. They will start to bow when the lift starts to close. You can see them bowing, and that's a show of respect. Okay, then likewise for myself, because I am very accustomed to the whole Japanese culture already, I myself also bow to them before the door closes. This is to show mutual respect for each other. Okay, so this bow until the elevator door closes completely, also more towards the Japanese, but if you want to show enough respect for them, you have a good meeting, you can also do bow. Yeah, you just do bow when the door automatically closes, you just bow. Yeah, to show your respect. Doesn't have to be 90 degrees, but you have to do a slight bow. Yeah, and another situation where you see in a corporate situation where people bow is your customers. Let's say you have a dinner with them, all right, out, and then you are not familiar, right? So they'll try to get you a cab, a taxi, where they will send you home, right? So the cab arrives, you step into the cab. Close the door, again, exchange some hi, oyasumi nasai, mata ashita desu ne, toka ne. So the door closes, the taxi is about to take off. You see the Japanese will still be standing there, yeah? They will see you off, and then they will bow. Okay, they see you off, they will bow. In fact, when you go on a tour, okay, all the tour coaches, same thing. Even when you arrive at Narita Airport, right, you buy your bus ticket, and then you tell them you're going to stay at ABC Hotel, okay, and then you check in, you go into the bus. There will be a lady come up and say, oh, I wish you a good trip, etc., etc. They will bow. After the announcement, they will bow, they respect. And then they go down. And then when the bus leaves, they take another bow. So this bowing culture is very unique. It's almost a daily life kind of thing. They show respect to people, everything they do. Okay, and now we don't see it anymore, but in classy department store across Japan, like the Daimaru, the Takashimaya, Mitsukoshi, big department stores, they still have elevator ladies, yeah, where people go into the elevators, they ask you which floor you're going, and then they bow to you, they press the floor for you, etc., etc. A lot of bowing, yeah. So if you happen to go to Tokyo, and if you still go to the so-called major department store, they may still have it, but it's facing out already. You may not get a seat, maybe in your next trip to Japan, but who knows? If you can get to see it, maybe snap a couple of pictures, for your IG, right? Okay, so I have shared with you some vocabulary. I have shown you the 10 business etiquette, simple business etiquette of the business etiquette of a Japanese culture. I think it's time to go into the dialogue, right? So the dialogue today is very simple. It's something that everybody has to learn when you learn Japanese. It's like the must-have, the must-learn, the first few lessons. In fact, the first lesson. Okay? So, hello, my name is Tanaka. Oh, I write from Oxford Corporation. Okay. Hello, my name is Tanaka Jerell. Okay, my name is Jerell from Oxford Corporation. Okay? In Japanese is Hajimemashite. Oxford no Jerell to moshimasu. Hajimemashite. Hajimemashite means 初次见面, first time seeing you. Okay? Hajimemashite. Jerell no Oxford to moshimasu. That means I am from Oxford. My name is Jerell. Okay? All right, so one more time. Hello, my name is Jerell from Oxford Corporation. Hajimemashite, Oxford no Jerell to moshimasu. To moshimasu. Okay? So when you receive the card, you do your introduction. Then you receive the card, you say thank you for your card, ma. Okay? Thank you for your business card. Okay? Thank you for a business card, you say 頂戴いたします。頂戴いたします。One more time. 頂戴いたします。Thank you for your card. 頂戴いたします。Okay? And when we receive Japanese business card, right, we receive already, it may seem weird because it's not happening with your Amo friends, yeah? But usually when I receive the business card, I also do the same thing. I will repeat I will kind of say it slowly, in a very polite manner, the name of the person, just to acknowledge, oh, you are so and so. So when I receive the business card, I'll say, oh, your name is Mr. Tanaka, I see, right? So you say, Tanaka-san desu ne. Like here in my hand, this particular business card belongs to Masahiko Tapuchi. Then I'll say, oh, Masahiko-san desu ne. Tapuji-san desu ne. Either one is fine. But of course, if you really know him, first time knowing him, it's better to say his last name, which is surname in the Singapore context. So the surname here is Tapuchi. So Tapuchi desu ne. Yeah. Here my example is your name is Mr. Tanaka. Tanaka-san desu ne. So this is easy. Yeah, it's easy. All right. And then of course, it's nice to meet you. Is a way to so-called end the introduction of both parties, and then you can sit down and you can start your meeting proper. And this is something you always hear, very common, yeah? Is yoroshiku onegai shimasu. Yoroshiku onegai shimasu. Right? It's nice to meet you. It's a pleasure to meet you. I'm pleased to meet you, right? Right? Simple dialogue that everybody knows. And then I have shared with you also the 10 basic business etiquette when you go to Japan for a meeting. I share with you some of the vocabulary. At least somebody now knows that when you enter the room, you knock 3 times instead of knocking 2 times, because knocking 2 times on the door means to check whether the restroom cubicle is empty or not. Yeah. So that's it for today. I hope you enjoy it. about office culture in Japan, because Singapore tomorrow we start, most of us can go back to the office already. So like I say, it all depends on you whether it's good or bad. And of course, we still have sharing a view about cosmetics, making yourself prettier so that you can go back to the office tomorrow and then surprise your senior and your bosses, and hopefully can get a raise. And then, of course, at the end of the day, we also have our specialist cook, Alice, sharing with us how to do some nice cooking in which you can cook one more time before you go back to the office. And other than that, again, I'm also appealing to friends of mine who are watching, or that you have shared this video with your friends and they would like to know more about the Japanese culture. Happy to invite you guys to come to our loft, and then we can do more exchange of the Japanese culture or language or anything that you would like to know more about the Japanese language or the lesson or the culture that we have. Okay, so thank you. よろしくお願いします。ありがとうございました。お疲れ様でした。じゃあね。